Get out the insurance cards, get out the co-pays. The office is open, my friends, as this video is brought to you by drroto.com.
It sure is. It is brought to you by drroto.com. Welcome to the first edition of Monkey Knife Fight Podcast. I'm Bob Lung. That's Colby Conway on the other side. We're bringing you the prop bets for Monkey Knife Fight this year, and we are so excited that Monkey Knife Fight is sponsoring and is a big sponsor now for drroto.com. Such a great game. I met a bunch of these guys at the FSGA conference in Dallas. They really wanted to be part of the expo. Things didn't work out timing wise, but they definitely will be in next year and be a big part of it. So Colby, welcome. Always good to have you, buddy. We love talking about prop bets. We'll be using obviously our special consistency tool this year to do that. But for this one, we're going to be actually not using the tool because this is all about season long. We don't have any first week props up there yet, but welcome. Why don't you, I know that you're more familiar with the Monkey Knife Fight in playing this. Why don't you kind of walk people through kind of what's going to happen? Now, I know this is a little bit different here in the season long, but we'll go through these choices of games, but talk about what happens each week during the season and kind of the fun games that you can play as part of Monkey Knife Fight, which makes it a little bit different than just your typical picking a few prop bets.
Yeah, Monkey Knife Fight does a really good job with giving you options amidst basically all the games that are happening. So like you said, it's a little bit different for season long than it will be, for week 1, week 2, and so on. But what we see here for season long, you basically have more or less, which is your simple, Tom Brady, X number of passing yards. Is he going to throw for more? Is he going to throw for less? Make your pick and you move on. Then they also have like a rapid fire, which is kind of similar in that you're basically picking between two at this point. It's like one of the ones that I really, really like. And we have an article at drroto.com for you to take a look at. But one of the options is basically who's going to have more passing yards? Is it going to be Patrick Mahomes or Tom Brady? However, Brady gets the little bump with a bonus of 449.5 passing yards. So those rapid fire ones are really cool. That really pits you more against player to player versus just, throwing or rushing or catching for more or less than a yardage number. So they do a really good job. I'll be really interested to see when the season comes around, like picking into individual games. Like I've been looking a little bit at baseball right now, and that they got a home run blast that looks really fun. And you can really dive into the game. So if you have a really good feeling about like tonight, like the Dodgers game, I have a very, I don't want to call it a good feeling, so I don't want to jinx it, but I have a feeling the Dodgers are going to put a lot of runs up on the board. I would love to get, a lot of mores on that side of the ball for that contest. But no, super excited for the season. Glad Monkey Knife Fight is on board. They have an awesome store. I've been looking at stuff that I'm going to buy for them. So hopefully for the nice. for the next episode, I'll have a cool hat or something. Monkey Knife Fight. Exactly. Yeah. Hopefully I'll have something cool for the next one. But no, like I mentioned, we got that article up there. So we'll be highlighting some of our picks throughout the season. And we'll be able to use the tool in season because that gives us more like on a week to week basis versus a full season.
Exactly. So very simple for those of you listening for the first time here. Obviously, you want to be a part of this. You want to sign up. First off, you got to make sure it's legal in your state. Sadly, Ohio is not, but that's okay. I can still kind of help you play and help you. I can go in and look at it. Colby is in a state that is good. So just make sure, and they'll pretty much tell you when you try to sign up for an account whether or not you qualify. I think there's a spot somewhere too that'll tell you. But anyway, go in. When you log in, when you create your account, use code DOC, D-O-C, capital D, D-O-C. Doc, and you will get 100% match on your first $100, if I'm not mistaken, right? So there you go. Boom, you doubled your money. You can spend $200 now on your prop bets and your games that you're going to play. So set up your account, go in. So like Colby said, basically you're going to see a screen like this. Let's go to the beginning just so everybody can see it. So you're going to be here. You're going to see the main screen. So again, there's other sports. If you're into other sports, NASCAR, soccer, baseball. But right now for football, obviously you just have the NFL football and the slate is basically your season long. So like Colby said, very simple. Here's the more or less. It's Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady. Will Patrick Mahomes have more than 4,999.5? So basically, is he going to get 5,000 yards or more passing or less than that? and Tom Brady 4,550.5 more or less. You pick both of them, you pick a more, you pick a less, you pick both more, whatever you want to do. You put in your money, and then basically you will win 3 times what you buy in. So if you put in $10, boom, you got $30. That's simple. All you got to do is hit 2 of them. So pretty simple. Now you got to wait the whole season. That's where it gets, you may want to double, think about that. So, Colby, we won't talk about these and what our thoughts are on this because we've already put that in the article. Everybody's got to go out and check out the new article there at drroto.com. But that's more or less. So Colby mentioned the rapid fire. So Colby, why don't you walk us through the rapid fire? And since we've got a little bit of differences here, we can compare, contrast. Let's you and I kind of throw out our picks of where we would go with this. So why don't you go ahead and kind of walk us through the rapid fire game?
Yeah, so kind of like I mentioned earlier, so this one you get a little bit of a bump in this case with Tom Brady and Dalvin Cook. So really what you're determining here is the easy way of looking at this is Patrick Mahomes going to throw for basically with that 449.5 bonus. Is he going to outthrow Brady by basically 450 yards? That's essentially what you're asking yourself here. So if you think that he's going to do that, obviously you'll click him. And if you think Brady with that little cushion there is going to do that, you obviously click him. Kind of took me right into it here, but this is actually one of the ones that I wrote up in the article.
Okay, so we'll save that one. We'll save that one as a surprise. And why don't you talk about the rushing yards with Derrick Henry versus Dalvin Cook?
Yeah, so same type thing here. This is one where you got to basically determine, is that cushion worth it? So Derrick Henry's coming off a massive workload. We tend to see guys that have that much work the next years, they tend to drop down a little bit. But it's not like Cook's a surefire thing of his own. Do I love him for fantasy? Absolutely. Well, am I taking him with the 2nd overall pick in every draft? As long as it's not super flex, you better believe that I am.
Yep.
However, there are some injury concerns with him. He gets nicked up a little bit. Maybe they end up using Alexander Madison more. And the big thing is for the first time, at least since I've been alive, and I'm pretty sure since you have been, and since any of us, we now have a 17-game regular season.
Yes,
it's not just 16 games. So what are teams going to do? Do they, do not necessarily rest players, but are running backs going to get spared a little bit more? How is all that going to work out? So kind of with all of that in mind, in this one, even with Cook kind of getting that bonus to basically help him out there, I'm still going to go Derrick Henry. That's going to be a run-first offense. I know Arthur Smith isn't there anymore, but the bloodlines of that offense are there. I know, and I've been adamant in saying that them getting Julio Jones is an indication that they're going to attempt to throw the ball more. But the big thing you have to know is Henry crushes his division. Jacksonville and Houston will probably not be leading at any point against them, and they're just going to let Henry run it right down their throat. So there should be enough big games there for Henry to do it. The bonus scares me. I wish the bonus was a little bit lower to make me feel better about it, but I'll still take Henry outright.
I have to agree. Now, if this was total yards, that might make it a little bit different because obviously Cook is very involved in the passing game out of the backfield, where Henry is a little bit, but nothing like Dalvin Cook is in Minnesota. I have to agree. I don't think 170.5 rushing yards is enough of a gap. I feel like Henry will continue to get the load. He's a beast. Again, will they spell him at times? I'm sure they'll have games where maybe they have a big league against somebody like Jacksonville or the Texans, and they might take him out and let Darrynton Evans finish the game. But at that point, he'll probably have 150 yards rushing and, 2 touchdowns anyway. So he's still going to get his yards, and at some point, maybe they'll give him a rest. But yeah, I have to believe that in both cases, or in this case here, I would definitely go Derrick Henry. If it was total yards, I think I might go Dalvin Cook, but for this one, I'm definitely going to go Derrick Henry for the rushing yards. So basically how this, is set up right now, the only difference that they have in some is they will do these more or less for fantasy points, not just yards and touchdowns. Now, if you click on this little information button, you will see how they're doing the scoring. 4 points passing touchdown, your typical 1 for 20. -1 interceptions, rushing touchdowns, receiving, pretty much straightforward stuff. So here we're doing kind of a more or less, but with the quarterbacks, and now we're doing fantasy points, not necessarily yards, rushing yards, touchdowns, whatever the case may be. Here we have Kyler Murray with 345.5, Tom Brady with 340.5. Both are interesting. I think if I'm not mistaken, I got to pull out my numbers here. let's see what we got. So Kyler Murray last year, 434.45 in fantasy points. And I know this scoring is the 4-point passing touchdown scenario. And we have Tom Brady at 398. So it seems like it's an easy over for both of these. Your thoughts? Would you go over for both, especially with an extra game involved? I mean, I have to believe, especially with Kyler Murray and the rushing yards, these are two pretty easy mores, right?
Yeah, I'm leaning the more on both of these.
Yeah.
Just both teams are pass heavy. They want to throw the ball. Murray gets the added boost with his legs. Brady should get enough touchdowns. The only really path I see to either posting a number less than their line is an ill-timed injury. That's the only thing that I really see.
Which Murray has more usually of a chance of that than Brady, but yeah.
Yeah, I think Murray had a soft tissue injury, like a hamstring. I think it popped up a little bit last year. But and with Brady, the only really knock you can make on Brady is that they have such a good defense. He might not be throwing, but that defense was good for more than they weren't last year. So that reason doesn't really fly with me. So I just don't see how either of them don't exceed this total.
I totally agree. All right. So as we move down, basically what you'll see here on the top part of the screen on the more or less, they'll go three times. Then they start getting into more money, but they also have more players. So here we are, more or less rapid fire at the 5 times. You can see now we have 3 choices for the rapid fire. We've got the Mahomes versus Brady, Henry versus Cook. Now we've got Nick Chubb versus Christian McCaffrey. And interestingly enough, they're giving rushing yards to McCaffrey. I guess it makes sense. He's more of that total yards guy, kind of like Cook. But let's be honest, McCaffrey can still put up some rushing yards. Chubb versus McCaffrey, but we're giving McCaffrey an extra 150 bonus rushing yards. Who are you going to go with? I think this one's a little bit closer than the Henry Cook one.
Yeah, this one definitely is. You're looking back at McCaffrey, his best year rushing in terms of rushing yards, a little under 1,400 back in 2019. Cleveland's defense, very good this year. It's actually one of my favorite defenses to get in leagues that still roster a defense. But if I have to, I love getting Cleveland's defense. They should be leading a lot of games. Chubb is going to be the workhorse for that backfield. And when you look at McCaffrey, I mean, other than the 1,387 in terms of yards he put up in 2019, 1,098 in 2018, and then limited time each of the past 2, or in 2017 and 2020 kind of knocked him down there. Even with the bonus, I think I'm going to go Nick Chubb here. Scared money don't make money, so I'm going to take Chubb.
See, I'm thinking that they will use Hunt more to keep both of them healthy. I mean, again, with the 17-game schedule, I can see the Browns, if they've got a big lead and Chubb already has 25 carries and for 100 and some yards, that they might let Hunt run a little bit more. Maybe even this Dimitri Felton might come in. I think these teams are going to be a little more cautious with their big stars and try to help them a little bit. But let's be honest, they won't do that with McCaffrey because he is a robot. He is an alien. They will use him all the time. It is rushing yards, not passing yards, and not total yards. So certainly that makes a big difference. But I think I'm going to go with McCaffrey on this one. I think it's very close, but I think McCaffrey can be closer to Chubb this year than because I think he's going to be ready to kind of bust out. He kind of let everybody down last year, and I'm sure that bothers him.
And that's part of the practice that will have to be like considered here too. Is that like when we talk with like Henry and Cook has a viable backup. Does Henry? I mean, it's not like Darrington Evans is bad, but same thing with Chubb and McCaffrey. Like McCaffrey's backup is Hubbard, who's a rookie, whereas Chubb's Kareem Hunt, who has documented success at the national, at the NFL level. So that's something to consider in some of these matchups too. And now, sure, it's one of those instances where if it benefits me, I'll be quick to write it off. Like, it doesn't matter. I don't care. I like this pick regardless. So that's just something to consider with some of these, like a viable backup, a 17-game season that we've never had before. And maybe some teams are looking to protect their investment. Or if you're a team like Cleveland, which is crazy, 5 years ago, I never thought I'd be saying this, but for a team like Cleveland that legitimately can have championship aspirations, running Chubb into the ground the first couple weeks of the season, kind of like you're saying, like maybe it is better to use Hunt and use Felton and Jarvis Landry and let Beckham throw and save Baker Mayfield's arm and, do all that fun stuff. So
Yeah, right.
I still lean Chubb, but like that's a practice that you'll have to consider here as viable backups with a 17-game season that we have not had before.
Right. I mean, adding an extra game seems like the obvious, or whether you just add an extra 120 yards rushing because that's what they average. But I feel like it's going to be, there's still only one bye, so, and especially if that bye, and I don't remember where Cleveland's bye is. Cleveland's bye is actually week 13. So it's not like it's in the middle. So again, like you said, they can't come out, busting week 1 through 5, and then all of a sudden now they've got 8 more weeks before there's a bye and everybody's tired. So, the ones in the middle probably have a little bit more scenario. Having one near the end certainly is good for a team like the Browns who are looking towards the playoffs, and will maybe have a better, scenario once they get to that point. But, and that may help for, the fantasy playoffs because somebody like Chubb will get to rest in week 13 and will come out, smoking in the last month. So it'll be interesting. But yeah. So again, as you know, we're only going to go about 20 minutes here on this one because we just kind of want to give everybody an idea of what you're doing, how this all works. Last ones, you get in some big money, and I think this is one of my funnest ones here. Is pick all 10 right, and it's 500 to 1 payout, baby. I mean, this is better than a scratch off, guys. I still looked at this. I told Colby, and I'll tell everybody out there, I'm picking all Moores, just straight across the board. I'm just going to take all of them as a Moore, no lesses. The only one that might, I did say I wasn't 100% sure that Stafford could go 4,500 yards because he never did it, or he hasn't done it since 2013 in Detroit. Yes, Jared Goff did it 2 years ago, just barely made it over. I think he was about 40 or maybe 4,600. I think he was a little over. But, Stafford's just up there in years. He's still kind of brittle. He toughs it out each year, but on the other side of that, he also has a pretty good passing arsenal in front of him, or receiving arsenal, and Woods, Cup, Tyler Higbee. So, again, I still think he can do it. I'd probably still pick all Moores because all of these guys exceeded this last year pretty much. The only one that gets a little bit edgy is Mahomes. But, again, an extra game, it's going to be interesting. So, yeah, so this is the one you can really cash in big if you want to throw $100 at it. And you hit it, man, there you go.
Sheesh. There's your promo code DOC gets you 100% match up to $100.
You take that free $100. You put that free $100 on this. I mean, talk about a lottery ticket, guys. I'm telling you right now, just pick all Moores, and then just make sure you send me 10% after you win. I'm gonna have to give Colby $100 so that he can put it in for me because I can't play it here. But yeah, I think this is an interesting one. These all seem very reasonably set. Like I said, I would probably pick all Moores. But anyway, your thoughts on these 10? If you were going to, you don't have to go through them individually, or do you have a few in there you think you would go less?
Looking at them, none of them really jump off the page per se. The only one that, if I was going to be like, kind of the scared money don't make money thing, is, believe it or not, I would be tempted to take the less on Stephon Diggs. Now, it's a pass heavy offense. I get that. He's their wide receiver 1. I get that. I don't feel good about taking the less. And I don't even know if I will when push comes to shove, when, put my money where my mouth is. But like, there's an avenue that the receiving crew that is around him got better from the year before. And if that running game can take a step forward, who knows? Like, that team is poised to win a lot of games. Again, I don't feel great about it. And honestly, next week when we talk about this, I might completely flip flop, which is good because I still have time to lock it in. But basically moving forward for the season, essentially, we'll have Monkey Knife Fight articles talking about our picks for the week, who's going to have a number that's more, who's going less. What about rapid fire? I see there's another one there called Stat Shootout, so I'm excited to see what that one will end up being when we get to the lines for week 1. So I'm excited for that, and then I'll let you hammer it home again. But when you go ahead and make that deposit and create that account, DOC, that's what you want to do.
Yep, definitely. And Colby, like Colby said, him and I will be here each week doing this show for you, helping you with your picks. We also have an article out there on drroto.com, and it is free right now. So make sure you check that out. It's free to read. You don't even have to get a subscription. But of course, if you do, you can use Doc or you can use Bob as your discount code for the subscription to drroto.com. Get all of the great articles there from Colby, myself, Jason Braddock, Nick Minix, Blue Landers in baseball, so much good stuff. And DFS, these guys are winning left and right. Esports, holy cow. This guy he never misses. It's unbelievable. So definitely check all that out. You can win your money back so quickly each month. It's not even funny. So make sure you get out there and subscribe. So for Colby Conway, I'm Bob Lung. Everybody, thank you for being here. We will see you next week with the Monkey Knife Fight podcast. Everybody take care. God bless. We'll see you soon.
Thanks for stopping by the office. Get your fantasy prescription by subscribing to the channel and checking out drroto.com. And until the next visit, be well and take care.